Hello all, my name is Hitesh Tamani and welcome to my YouTube channel. So guys, today I'm back with the most famous SQL interview question. This question had been asked by Facebook in one of their data engineering interview, but any of the company which mainly deals into web analytics and stuff would be interested in these kind of topics, right? So make sure you watch the video till end and please subscribe to the channel if not already done yet. So as we can see, basically in this particular problem statement, we had been given a table, which is like which particular table contains the logging information of a particular user, right? And the question basically asked is like we have to calculate each user's average session time, right? So basically session time is nothing but the difference between the page load time and page exit time. So this is the definition of a session time, which had been given by the company itself, right? Like furthermore, like they are saying, like for simplicity, we have to assume a user has only one session per day, right? If there are multiple sessions, like then basically we have to consider like maximum date or maximum time for the page load, right? Or latest page load time, right? And earliest page exit time, right? So this is something which is there as part of the information in this particular question. And for sure, we have to calculate the average session time per user, right? So like as and when like there is one small suggestion from my end. So as and when like we are getting these kind of questions, right? So for sure the data will not be arranged in a usable format, right? Or like the data will not be in a like pretty straightforward format, right? So I would suggest like we should like go through the data once, like we should understand the data and in a pretty much like a good way, right? And then probably we should like brainstorm like how we will be able to solve this particular problem, right? So let me just quickly walk you through with the data and let me just quickly show you like how and what should be your approach when you are getting these kind of questions, right? So as we can see, basically we had been asked like we have to calculate average session time, right? And session time is nothing but basically it's a difference between page load time and page exit time, right? So as we can see, we have like user level information, timestamp details also we have, and we have action label available at a particular user and timestamp level, right? So as we can see, there are like page load information, page scroll down, page scroll up information, page exit information. These kind of information are there in the action column available, right? The only thing is basically what we have to do, we have to calculate the difference between page load and page exit time, right? So as we can see, basically in this particular table, page load and page exit information is available in the single column itself, right? So when we have to create a difference or when we have to calculate a difference between page load and page exit, right? So what we what is our requirement basically, right? So we need a column over here, right, which will basically give us like page load and page exit time, right? And basically that particular column, when we do a difference between those two like columns, it will like quickly give us the like difference between page load and page exit time, right? So this kind of like table or this kind of data we have to break down into like different columns, right? So that would be the like approach I would say, like as and when we are getting like these kind of questions, right? So let me just quickly show you how we will be able to do that, right? So since like we like in this particular problem statement, we need page load and page exit time timestamp values. So for that, what I will do, I will create two different columns, which like one column will give me the page load time, second column will give me the page exit time, right? So in order to create two different columns, we in SQL we have like case when statement, right? So I will use case when, right? Case when action is equal to uh, so basically case when action is equal to page load, right? So when action is equal to page load, right? Then I will use time step value from here, right? So basically, like my column should write timestamp value when the action is page load, right? So I'm using timestamp, right? And as I will use, so basically I will just end it or right over here, here itself, right? Similarly, I will use the second case when statement, and for that I will use like page exit, right? So basically when like action is page exit, so then also it should give me the timestamp value, right? So now let me just quickly run this and we'll show you how our data structure will look like. So yeah, as you can see, basically we have like along with page load value or like page load flag, we have like timestamp value available over here. Similarly, in second column, along with the page exit value, we have like exit information available, right? Now, basically, in this particular problem statement, we had been given an additional required information, right? So let's say in a single day, right? In a single day, if we have like maximum time, if a person is like reaching on a platform, loading that particular page, right? So basically, what it had been mentioned, we have to take the latest page load time, right? Similarly, for page exit, we should take the earliest page exit time, right? So this is the condition which is there in the question itself, right? So basically what we have to do for page load, since we have to take latest page load timestamp value, right? So for that, I'm using maximum of page load timestamp, right? Similarly, for page exit, I'm using minimum of page exit timestamp, right? So these are the two things which I am using for page load and page exit timestamp as per the details given in the problem statement, right? Now, basically what we have to do, we have to take the difference between page load and page exit, right? So in SQL Server, how to calculate difference, right? So basically we have a like datetime function over here, which will calculate the difference between two given dates, right? So for that, we will use date diff, right? And since we like in this particular problem statement, the time is available in seconds. So for that, I will use second as a parameter because I need date difference in like seconds form, right? And yeah, so basically what I'm doing over here is basically I'm using a date diff function. I am creating a difference between maximum of page load date and minimum of page like exit date, right? And like basically like since we have to do this at a user level, so what I will do, I will basically do this at a user ID level, right? Similarly, I think I have to create like close this particular bracket over here. Yeah. So similarly, let me just quickly run this and we'll show you how our like query will look like. But before this, since we are using aggregate function over here, so I have to do group by, right? So for that, I will use group by user ID, right? So let me just quickly run this query and we'll show you how it will look like. So yeah, as we can see, basically for at a user ID level, we have like maximum of page load date, right? And minimum of page exit date. And with respect to that we are getting like this particular information, right? So since now basically we have like in a single day we have like multiple page loads and we could get like multiple page loads and multiple page exits, right? So let me just quickly add one more parameter over here, which will be the timestamp value, right? So basically what I'm doing over here is, so since our date column is available in a like hours, minutes and seconds format, so I will like in order to basically get date from that, so we can use cast function over here, right? So basically I'm doing cast of timestamp, right, as date, right? I'm casting it in date format, right? And I will use this as well in my group by statement, right? So let me just quickly run this query and we'll show you how it will look like. Yeah. So as we can see, basically we got for multiple dates like multiple user IDs, we got this session time, right? So this is nothing but a session time, right? So for each and individual dates, we are getting like individual session time for individual user, right? Let me just quickly give this as alias as session time, right? Now, basically, what we have to do, like we have to calculate the average session time from this particular value or this particular table, right? So I think like now this is pretty straightforward, right? So basically like how can we calculate session time over here, like which is like average session time? Average session time should be like nothing but it's a summation of the total session time which we have at a particular user ID level, right? And we should divide that like with the occurrence of those particular sessions, right? So which is nothing but, let's say, for user ID 0, right? So for user ID 0, let me just quickly order it up so that like you will be able to see it in a much better way. So I'm using it order by user ID and timestamp. Let me just quickly run this once again. Yeah. So as we can see, basically for user ID 0, we have like this particular user had logged in and logged out on two different dates, right? So like what would be the average session time for like user ID 0? It would be nothing but it's a summation of like session time divided by count of number of occurrence, right? That would give us the average session time basically, right? So this is the only thing which we have to implement in SQL, right? So what I am doing is I'm creating this as a CTE, right, with CTE as, right? And since like order by clause will not work with CTE, so I will remove this, right? So I'm using CTE as, this is my CTE. And with respect to this, what I'm doing is, let me just quickly test it once. Select star from CTE. With CTE as, I see. So basically we have to give this as a alias. So it's like date, right? Okay, cool. So I think like now basically what we have to do, we have to basically calculate the average session time over here, right? Which is nothing but it's a summation of session time over here divided by the count of number of occurrence, right? So which will be nothing but sum of session time, right? Divided by count of session time, right? So with this, I will be able to get average session time, right? And since like my like I am creating a like division over here, so like which will give me the integer value, but I would need a decimal value. So for that, I would like needs to multiply it with 1.0, right? This is something which we should keep in mind, right? And with respect to this, I am rounding it up as well, up to 1 decimal place, right? I'm giving it as alias as average session time, right? And since we need this at a user ID level, right? So I am selecting just user ID, okay, right? And since I'm doing a aggregation over here, so I will do group by. So group by on user ID, right? So let me just quickly explain you once again. So what I'm doing over here is I am basically doing a summation of session time, right? And I am dividing that with the like number of occurrence of session time over here, which will give me the average session time, right? So let me just quickly run this query and we'll show you how our output will look like. Yeah. So as we can see for user ID 0, we have average session time is like 1883 seconds, right? Similarly, like for user ID 1, it's like 35 seconds since our output is in seconds, right? So now, as we can see for user ID 2, right, we don't have any value. So let me just quickly check like, is it correct or not? So I am selecting, like I am running our original table, right? So select star from Facebook web blog. And when I'm running this, so as we can see, basically and let me just quickly order it up as well so that like our output should be fine. So order by user ID, right? So when we can see like for user ID 2, right? So as we can see for user ID 2, we have page load value available, right? But there is no page exit value, right? So since we don't have page exit information for user ID 2, our like session time is null for that, and which is valid as well, right? So let me just quickly run our solution once again. And yeah, so I think like we should get rid of these kind of instances where there is no session time, so that like our solution will be will look much cleaner, right? So for that, what I will do, I will use where clause, right? And I will basically select only those where session time is available, right? So basically what I'm doing over here is where session time is not null. So basically I'm filtering only those records where session time is not null, and basically it will calculate the average session time just for those user IDs. So let me just quickly rerun this particular query. So yeah, as we can see, basically we have just like average session time just for user ID 0 and user ID 1, right? So yeah, that's all from my side. Hope you got to learn something new today. Thank you one and all. Have a great day ahead. Bye bye.